Right. Thank you all for being here. Hope you're managing to stay cool. My name is Arvind Iyengar, and I'm going to speak on shape-shifting writing systems, or to be less dramatic, writing systems that have features of more than one subcategory or subtype, which raises the question of what we should label such systems. First, the basics. A script. This is a set of written characters or symbols that we use to transcribe human language, where language is a spoken entity. So Popomorpho, Ge'ez, Hiragana, or even Braille, these are essentially collections of written symbols that we represent spoken languages with. A writing system is a combination of a spoken language and a written script. Think of it as a language denoted in a particular script. So Mandarin in Popomorpho, or Tigrinya in Ge'ez, or Japanese in Braille. These are all examples of writing systems. So a writing system necessarily has at least two components, which makes sense. Otherwise, why would you call it a system? And one of these components is the script. This distinction between script and writing system is important because when we talk of subtypes or subcategories, we're talking of writing system subtypes, the combos or the pairs of language and script. And depending on how a language and script combine or pair up, they will lie somewhere on the spectrum between a logography, where a written symbol might denote an entire word or morpheme, and a phonography, which is a broad term for systems where a written symbol typically denotes one or more sounds. So writing systems vary between these two extremes based on what their individual symbols, the symbols in their script component, typically denote, what we call the grain size. Within phonographies, there's many different subtypes. Most of you would have heard of syllabaries, where the grain size is a spoken syllable. And a syllable, of course, is one or more consonant sounds together with a vowel sound, typically. Japanese in hiragana or Japanese in katakana. These are well-known examples of syllabaries. What we're interested in today is the subtype known as segmentaries, or more precisely, voweled segmentaries. This is a term Amalia Jnanadesikan has proposed. A vowel segmentary is a system where a written symbol typically denotes a consonant sound or vowel sound individually. That is, where the grain size is the phonological segment. So an example of this type of system is English, as written in the Latin or Roman script. Jnanadesikan has also built on previous work by Bill Bright on how to account for writing system subtypes, other subtypes, under the broad label of vowel segmentaries. So if we look at which vowel sounds are written after a consonant symbol in post-consonantal position, if a segmentary writes all its vowel sounds, it's an alphabet. Whereas if it systematically leaves one particular vowel sound unwritten, that is, if it does not have a symbol for one particular post-consonantal vowel, it's called an abugida. So English and Latin, or for that matter, English and Braille, these are broadly alphabetic systems. Gujarati, in its traditional script, is an abugida because it does not write the vowel sound after a consonant symbol. On the other hand, if we look at how vowel symbols are written after a consonant, we again find two broad types of segmentaries. If vowel symbols can occur independently on their own. If they're free symbols, we might call it a planar system. This is a term I have previously proposed, since there didn't seem to be a specific name for this kind of system. And if the writing system does not allow vowel symbols to stand on their own, if vowel symbols must be bound to something else, we call it an alphasyllabary, because it's a bit like a cross between an alphabet and a syllabary. English and Braille and English and Latin, these are examples of planar systems, whereas Divehi, that is Maldivian, in its conventional Tana script, is, well, a rather prototypical alphasyllabary. So from all of that, we can arrange vowel segmentaries into a four-way grid and describe vowel segmentaries using a double-barreled nomenclature, which vowels they have symbols for, and how those vowel symbols show up after a consonant symbol in post-consonantal position. For now, we are interested in the bottom row on your screen, the abugidic and the planar alphasyllabaries. So systems that have bound vowel symbols after a consonant. In particular, we want to find out whether an alphasyllabary can qualify as both abugidic as well as planar, and what the conditioning factors are. What's the trigger for them to shapeshift? So let's look at some writing systems whose script component is the same. So we'll take the Thai script as the script component. The language component may vary. We'll start first with Pali in Thai. For our purposes here, you could consider Pali in Thai more or less equivalent to Sanskrit in Thai. We'll come to the modern Thai language in the Thai script after that. In the Pali language, the word for Pali language is Bhasa Pali, while the word for written character or letter is Akkara. And that's how you would write these words in the Pali in Thai writing system. As you can see, vowel symbols, like the ones for R and E, they are always bound to the symbol before. They can't occur on their own, so that makes Pali in Thai an alphasyllabary, bound vowel symbols. But there's also one vowel sound, A, the short A, that is systematically unwritten after a consonant, which makes Pali in Thai an abugida. So Pali in Thai is an abugidic alphasyllabary. Great. Turns out these Pali words have been borrowed into the modern Thai language. They're pronounced slightly differently. For example, they now have tone because modern Thai is a tonal language, but they mean pretty much the same. The way they're spelled in modern Thai orthography, in the Thai in Thai writing system, that's where it gets interesting. So the loan word for Pali language is written more or less the same with bound vowel symbols for R and E. So that's, quintessentially alphasyllabic in nature. But the loan word for character or letter might appear in two different spellings. In one spelling, the vowel sound A, short A, is systematically unwritten, which is abugidic. In the other spelling, the vowel sound for short A is overtly written with its own symbol, which by definition is planar. What's more, we find both these practices in the same spelling, in the same word. So in the last example on your screen, the way the sequence ka is written is abugidic, whereas the way ra is written is cleaner. Let's compare this with the neighboring languages and writing systems of Lao and Burmese or Myanmar. These languages also have lots of Pali loanwords, but the spellings of these loanwords in their respective writing systems may not be the same as how they would be written in Pali, so to speak. So the Pali-derived loanword for character or letter, as it appears in the Lao writing system, does have all its vowel sounds overtly written, making it cleaner, the ones in green. Whereas the same Pali word, when it appears in the Myanmar writing system, leaves the vowel sound a systematically unwritten, making it abugidic. What's interesting is the Lao system used to be like Thai, an alphasyllabary with both abugidic and plenar features, and these features could occur pretty fluidly. But in 1975, there was a revolution in Laos, and the new government decided no more abugidic writing. Every vowel sound will now be explicitly written. And so Lao and Lao became an unambiguously plenar alphasyllabary at the stroke of a government official's pen, apparently, which does seem like fluidity, right? But of a somewhat different kind of bureaucratic fluidity, perhaps. So, well, how do we make sense of all of this? For starters, we should acknowledge that most, if not all, writing systems, they have symbols and characters of various subtypes. A classic example of such a mixed system is Japanese writing, which features a mixture of logographic and syllabic symbols, that is kanji and kana, respectively. But as Keisuke Honda has recently shown, Japanese in Braille also features a mixture of logographic and phonographic components. The precise classification of the phonographic symbols, this is something we're still figuring out. Keisuke, in fact, might have more to say on this in his talk tomorrow. The point is, though, the mixture of different symbol types is not restricted to the print avatar of Japanese writing. So in that sense, Thai and Thai, having both abugidic and plenar symbols within one writing system, it isn't all that unusual. What we eventually categorize a writing system overall as, whether a logography or a syllabary or an abugida or alphabet or some combination thereof, it's usually based on the system's prototypical symbol, or its most prominent, a salient type of symbol. So English and Latin, for example, we classify it as alphabetic because that is the most salient kind of symbol that it has. This is despite the fact that English and Latin has plenty of logographic elements. This also means if the prototype changes, either organically or because of external pressure, it is going to affect how we classify the overall system. So the post-1975 version of Lao, because the prototypical symbol in this system is now plenar, we'd want to label the overall system accordingly. We wouldn't want to call it an abugida, the present version of Lao and Lao. The take-home message is mixed and fluid writing system types are normal and expected they're not anomalies. They don't need fixing. If anything needs fixing, it is our understanding of them and the terminology we use to describe them. That's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arvind. Are there any questions from the audience or from Teams? We got plenty of time. Go ahead. Can you hear? No, you might have to come up. It might be easier. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. So I don't know anything about Thai, and while you were giving this presentation about this fluidity, I was wondering how does it work in practice? Is there a free variation between doing it as an abugida and as a plenary? Are there constraints that you use the one in one context or the one in another? Does it have different connotations in like register or something? Or yeah, that's more or less my question.
A very good one. I would imagine, and I should preface this by saying I don't speak Thai. So in that sense, I'm not my level of knowledge about the languages is not very different from yours. But what I know is that the variation that we see is not too different to the kind we might see in English, for example, say British and American spelling. Likewise, if we compare the German spelling that is official today versus the one before 1996, you could argue that some elements have become more "quote unquote" phonetic. Likewise, going back to English in the Latin script as used in the UK versus the US, something like PLOUGH for plow, you could argue it's logographic in nature, whereas the American spelling PLOW is arguably a little more phonetic. I would imagine the variation and the constraint on spelling variation within the Thai writing system is similar in that there will be some variation, obviously, and because of which you would want to characterize certain symbols or certain practices accordingly. But it's not a free for all. In fact, would be very rare, very unusual, I would think, to find a writing system today that is not standardized to some extent. And because of that standardization, whether it's from some central language authority or because of organic consensus, the variation that you see will be constrained. I wonder if you can still see the slides on my screen. I'm just going to, go back a bit. That's the one. So the example spellings on your screen for the word akara, as it's spelled in Thai today. Yes, you'll see these two spellings, but I would imagine these are the only two variants that you will see. I haven't come across any example of the symbol for ka also appearing with an overt bound vowel symbol. So while there is variation, it's a bit like COLOR versus COLOUR in English. There is variation, but it is constrained variation. So I hope that answers your question, at least slightly.
You're getting a thumbs up. Any other questions? We have plenty of time. Go ahead. You might have to come up here, or I can try to relay it.
Hi, Arvind. Great talk.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a question that I've thought about a fair bit. So it may be unfair to ask you to think about it in only 15 seconds. In the South Asia region, you also have Arabic script at work, and it shows a great deal of fluidity in the number of vowels that are represented in the various ways it's been adapted to local languages. And I would actually say that the variation we see in Thai is relatively small compared to that. And as you said, Lao only happened because somebody with guns made it happen. So do you have any insights on why the Arabic script is actually much more fluid, than these alphasyllabic scripts?
My guess, this is off the top of my head, is this may sound a bit trite, but my first instinct is to say that Arabic has simply been used to write way, way more languages than the Thai script has. In other words, the number of languages that the Arabic script forms a writing system with is just way more. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Arabic is up there, after Roman and perhaps neck and neck with Braille in the list of scripts that are used to write the maximum number of languages. It's easily over 100 languages that Arabic is used to write. Thai, on the other hand, I would imagine has only been used to write languages of the region, which again would be of a particular typological kind, the spoken language that is, which would influence the kind of features we see appearing in the written form. So because the Arabic script has been used to write languages from various parts of the world, everything from Mandarin to Malay to Spanish, I would imagine the different typological characteristics of the spoken languages have influenced what kind of features have come about in those Arabic-based writing systems. Yeah, in a nutshell, that would be my instinctive response. Although I completely concede, yeah, there could be much more to the story. If there's time and if the chair is happy to indulge me, could I ask you what your take on it so far is, on why there's more variation, for example, in Arabic script-based writing systems compared to something like Thai?
Well, my own sense is that the Akshara system is actually has learning advantages and is therefore very stable, because it's not just Thai and Lao, but the whole Brahmic family is very typologically actually quite stable, except you found most of the few examples, and the whole family is otherwise quite stable. So my sense is that consonant vowel being written together in an akshara has learning advantages. That's my theory, but I was interested to hear what you might say.
No, I have to agree. In fact, I have agreed with your position before because, I'd previously defined or tried to portray an akshara simply as an abugidic alphasyllabary, one that ticks both boxes. That is what we call an aksharic system. There's a narrower, or rather broader or looser definition of akshara, which would include what I call the plenar alphasyllabary. So Divehi Intana, for example, might also qualify as aksharic. So in that sense, it's not inconsistent at all. What you've proposed and what I've said here. In fact, I've also argued previously that Arabic, various South Asian languages at least, as written in the Arabic script, so Urdu, Sindhi, Kashmiri, would also qualify as alpha-syllabic because they're not too different from the Vehintana. So the question, I suppose, is more of how aksharic they are. In other words, just as we have a spectrum of between logographic and phonographic writing systems, we might propose a similar sort of spectrum within alpha syllabaries, for example, from more aksharic to less aksharic.
Thanks.
The stability bit, I have absolutely no argument with. I completely agree.
All right, we have 3 minutes left if anybody has a lingering question. Go ahead. I think that's the last question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a fascinating talk. Just one very quick comment and one quick question. Regarding Japanese Braille, I'm not really sure if it has a concrete logographic component, but I would love to look into that. My question is about the typological framework. I'm sorry if you mentioned this and I missed it, but so do you think Thai constitutes a separate type or maybe subtype in which another or maybe other scripts or writing systems can fit in? Or do you think this is a variation of what alphasyllabary?
I mean, if I could very briefly address your point about Braille, I should have said morphographic and not logographic. I just simply use the word logographic because it's better understood than morphographic. But yeah, I really should have, strictly speaking, said morphographic. Thai, modern Thai at least, what I've called Thai and Thai, I've so far, found enough evidence, I suppose, to slot it within existing typological categories. So, principle of Occam's razor or, general economy or compactness of explanation. In other words, you don't want to create a new category if you can fit something into existing categories. What I've so far found is that we should be able to, fit it into existing subcategories or subtypes with the caveat that, it might change from this to that. And, so we want to allow for categories, we want to allow for systems belonging to multiple categories, although, constrained manner. It's not a free for all. Of course, if more evidence emerges that there is good reason to propose a standalone subcategory or a new kind, distinct from anything we have so far, I wouldn't, argue against it. It's just a question of, how much evidence we have to support that the creation of a whole new category. So far, I don't think I've found enough to, propose a new category. But who knows?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arvind. That's the last of our questions. Appreciate your presentation and the engaging discussion.
Thank you.